Should the Wizards consider Liam McNeeley at pick 18? Find out next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello all, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Wizards, where myself, Abdullah, Ayubi, co-host and diehard Wizards fan that provides hometown insights and passion for his beloved Wizards, talk about Liam McNeeley and how he could be an option at pick 18 for the Wiz. And I'm here with my good friend Ben Strober, producer with DC Sports Talk Stations 106.7 The Fan and the Team 980. Thanks for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And remember, Locked On Wizards is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Wizards, where the best way to help us grow is to comment anything below. And today's question is, do you guys consider Liam McNeeley an option at pick 18? Today's episode is also sponsored by Game Time. Brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Game Time. All right, Ben, let's get straight to it. Wizards, Liam McNeeley, UConn man, guy can shoot it from three. Is he an option at pick 18? What will Dawkins consider him?
Absolutely. I think he is very much in play at pick 18. And from all the mocks and projections that we've seen over really the past couple of days, there is a lot of smoke about Liam McNeeley at 18 and what he could mean for this Wizards franchise. And not because he'd be a guy that'd be instantly a starter here in DC, but I think his ability to stretch the floor and come off the bench for this team would be something that could be really nice for them going forward, because I don't think they've had a real true three-point threat off the bench for quite some time. And I know this is getting way deep in the vault, but you remember when Bogdanovich was brought to DC in a trade back in 2017 as that lethal three-point guy off the bench? That's almost kind of what I envisioned for McNeeley, but he is so much more athletic, has a lot more potential as a wing defender than a guy like Bogdanovich did in the past. I would really like to see him in a Wizards uniform. I think he'd be actually a pretty safe pick to be a guy to expect to come off the bench. I'd say he's more of a risk if you're drafting him to be a guy to instantly be your starting small forward. But I think given the development of Keyshawn George and other aspects of what the Wizards have tried to accomplish in this rebuild, I don't think you would see that right away. But he's most definitely someone that I would put in play at this point for Washington at number 18.
I definitely think, and you brought up some great points, I think he'll be there at pick 18. But if you're the Wizards, since you already have the emergence of Keyshawn George, and I mean, let's be honest, man, outside of Keyshawn, you got Jordan Poole, but is it Bub Carrington can shoot it outside? Is there really any other shooters on this team?
You know, that's a great question. I don't think the Wizards really shot the three-point ball well enough last year especially, and I think that's been a big problem is how can you find someone that creates shots and is able to create his own three-point shot? I think McNeeley would be a guy that you put in there to be your spot up. If you do land a really talented point guard at some point in this draft in Trey Johnson, I know he's not really known to be a distributor, more of a pure scorer, but given how the Wizards can kind of mold him into an offensive system, if you have a guy like McNeeley come off the bench and spot up around the wing or in the corner, I think that could be a deadly combo. And then also, of course, Bub Carrington, who has emerged himself as a pretty good playmaker for this team. I think there is a lot of potential to grow as a team shooting the three ball better, and McNeeley would be a pretty good start for that.
I definitely see where you're coming from, especially with the emergence of the young guys when it comes to three-point shooting. It's only going to get better. And I think Alex Sarr, I know a big thing about him, a big knock is that he took a lot of threes last year, but I think his three-point shot would definitely improve as well. So Liam McNeeley at pick 18, it's a possibility. But for me, if you're the Wizards, you go with the guard at pick 6, or if you trade up or down. The debate between McNeeley and a potential big, I don't think Derrick Queen or Kama Malawach are gonna be there at pick 18, but the idea of maybe Thomas Sorber out of Georgetown, a lot of people are linking his name to DC. Clifford, the guy from Colorado State, Nikki Clifford, he's NBA ready, a great two-way guy who can bring defense as well. Do you think the lack of defensive potential could hinder Liam McNeeley, or are you thinking that three-point shooting is just too great to overlook?
No, because my take on it is I feel like McNeeley could be your pick if you do get your pick like Malawach at number 6, or Derrick Queen at some point later if the Wizards decide to trade down with Brooklyn because of its desire to get Jeremiah Fears. I think if you get a guy that can protect the rim well like Malawak or Derrick Queen or somebody else at some point in this draft, I think you don't have to, worry about that much later in the draft, because I think the Wizards do need to prioritize getting a big at some point in this draft. So if it does come early at pick number 6 or wherever it does come, I think number 18 kind of opens the door a little bit for the potential of a guy like McNeeley fitting into the system here in Washington, given from what they had. I mean, I just kind of wanted to touch on his skill sets a little bit here and why he could be such a skilled wing in this league. He's got all the tools to thrive on both ends of the court, which I really like. I know you mentioned the defensive potential for him maybe not being as high as other players, but he has a very advanced feel for the game. And even on the defensive end, he offers a really polished, all-around offensive repertoire, but the way he can play defense, we saw it at the college level. He's just very smart. He knows how to get around screens. He's very good within defensive rotations, and the effort is certainly there for him, which I think is what we've touched on so many times, the most important part. I know his numbers at the college level weren't necessarily outstanding, but he does have a pretty good stroke shot, around 31% from 3. I think he could get a little bit better, but he was dealing with an ankle injury for a pretty significant portion of the year at UConn, so I think that might have affected the way he was able to play when he finally got healthy this year. But one of his strongest assets is he does have the ability to create his own shot. He excels as a player who launches off screens. He can facilitate in the pick and roll, and his offensive game is a step or two ahead of what he does defensively. But I think if he's a guy that comes off the bench for you, that honestly works out for the Wizards.
Yeah, I think a guy like that could be scoring in bunches would be really, really nice, especially since for the Wizards outside of Jordan Poole and hopefully Bob Carrington, you want that guy, maybe Bilal Coulibaly, but you want that guy to eventually say, hey, I want to create my own shot. And for a guy that can shoot it from 3, maybe that handle will get better. At 6'7", that size, I mean, it's really hard to overlook, especially playing at a program at UConn. I know that this past year they didn't win it all. It didn't go that far. But you've seen how prestigious the program is, play against elite competition. That's what I always consider when I talk about draft prospects. Who do they play against in the collegiate level? Will it translate to the NBA? Do you think there's a possibility where he doesn't go in the first round, or do you think he's a first-round lock?
I think he definitely goes in the first round. If he is there at 18, which I'm pretty confident he will be. I mean, we saw from ESPN today, and the latest mock is not the Wizards to take him at 18. There was someone else there that we can get into at another point. But ESPN determined the best value likely available for the Wizards at number 18 would be Liam McNeeley. I don't see him falling out of the first round whatsoever. I mean, given that there's still 12 more picks after 18, I'd be almost certain that he goes at some point within there. And I think the only thing that's really holding him back was his numbers being maybe a little bit down from what was projected of him. A former McDonald's All-American consensus 5-star recruit. I think there was a lot of expectations on him in his freshman year, but I really think that ankle sprain, kind of hindered what he was able to do in just his freshman year. But the fact that he was able to overcome that injury and still put up the numbers that he did and, make his way into being a first-round pick, projected by almost everyone to be taken at some point mid to late first round, despite missing some time during the regular season. I think that says a lot about how talented he is as a player and how polished these executives think he already is despite his young age.
Yeah, as a freshman bouncing back from an ankle injury, it's not an easy injury to bounce back from. A lot of guys, get hindered from that for the rest of the season. And today's NBA, you need 3-point shooting. It's crucial. It's vital. The Wizards really didn't have a dominant 3-point shooter, really haven't been really great beyond the arc for the past couple of years. So a guy like McNeeley could definitely change that. And at pick 18, Will Dawkins, again, might take a shot at a guy like McNeeley. Why not? Maybe at year 2, year 3, he takes that jump. And I think the best thing about him is that he's in a situation, and this is all these young prospects, but he's in a situation where he doesn't have to immediately be that 3-point sniper. It's going to take some time for him to develop, go through the summer league, go through rough patches. And because you already have other young guys that are also trying to shine too. So it's not like all the pressure on him is there to be a number 1 option.
I think we as a fan base are so polarized right now because there's two sides. There's the side of, yes, I understand that this is going to take time. We need to develop very similar to what OKC has done. Look where they are right now in the NBA Finals. And then you have the other side says, I'm tired of losing. I can't take it anymore. Can we just start winning basketball games? But for that side right there, I bid you this. It's not that simple. We all wish it. I know you listening right now, we wish the Wizards would win 50 games for the first time in 46 years next year. Is that going to happen? No, absolutely not. That's not going to happen. but the development is part of the rebound. We spent so many years middled in mediocrity because we didn't know what kind of team we wanted to be. We wanted to be an 8 seed at best and barely make the playoffs and do nothing else. This organization right now has aspirations to compete for championships, and what comes with that is being at the lowest of lows. And honestly, at this point, you'd rather be at the bottom of the barrel in the NBA than stuck being mediocre, because we as Wizards fans, we did that for so many years here. Development is part of it, and the 2 players that get taken in this draft are going to be part of development. That is everything that is happening right here in Washington. Just get used to it. They aren't going to be winning a bunch of games next year. It's about building it right now, and I think they're a lot closer too than some people even realize. So I'm not even trying to say they're years away. I think they're a year away from being a year away. I know that sounds weird to say, but that's my take on it.
Ben Strober, ladies and gentlemen, couldn't have said it any better. Thank you, man. I emphasize it. You got to be patient. You got to be patient. You got to be patient. And with patience, we'll talk about, is there any pick out there that could potentially alter your thinking of Will Dawkins and crew? Let's talk about it. But before we do, a quick word from WayFair. There's nothing like stepping into your own outdoor space and feeling like you've escaped to a personal basis. If you're wanting to update your patio this season, WayFair has made it so easy to turn into a space that feels like yours, comfortable, stylish, and ready for summer. WayFair has everything you need to level up your outdoor space: conversion sets, outdoor bars, fire pits, hot tubs, gazebos, and yes, even the perfect string lights to set the vibe. It's like giving your backyard that resort feel without the resort price tag. I recently picked up a new outdoor dining set and some modern lounge chairs, and they completely transformed my patio. My guests love it. I love being able to filter and find exactly what fits my space and budget. The delivery was free, fast, and totally hassle-free, even with the larger items. Now, whether I'm hosting friends or just unwinding with the book, it genuinely feels like my own private retreat. Don't wait. Make your own outdoor space your dream oasis today with WayFair, and enjoy it all summer long. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop a huge outdoor selection. That's WAYFAIR.com. WayFair, every style, every home. Welcome back to Locked On Wizards. I'm Abdullah Ayubi here with my good guy, Ben Strober, talking about the Wizards in this upcoming draft. And is there a pick out there, whether it's pick 6, pick 18, that if the Wizards just drafted this guy, I might be a little upset about, or I might be scratching my head? Ben, what you think?
See, I feel like I had an answer to this question, but then I kind of contradicted myself. But I also don't know if all the critics out there about Derrick Queen are necessarily right, because what I was thinking in my head, I'm not sure if I'd be cool with them taking a big in this draft that doesn't have much defensive potential. And when I say that in my head, I'm like, wait, what is the one thing that's the rap on Derrick Queen on why people don't think the Wizards or anybody could take him in the top 8 or 10 here, is that he doesn't have enough potential as a defender. But then again, I watched the dude play at Maryland every single game. I called a whole bunch of his games. He absolutely has the potential to be a great defender in the NBA at the power forward position, not as a center. I think if Derrick Queen does come to Washington, he would be the power forward alongside Sarr being your 7-foot center. But Derrick Queen has just such good reach and such great potential, basketball IQ, and the way he plays is so methodical in a way. That's why I think he doesn't get a great rep defensively, and I think at times maybe his motor a little bit questionable. But I think if Brian Keefe at the helm for this Washington team can instill a better defensive mentality for him and allow him to get himself in a better position and find ways to find himself in favorable matchups. I think, if you put Derrick Queen on Nikola Jokic one-on-one right now, back to the basket, I think Jokic is going to win that every single time. But I think there is a lot of room for Queen to develop, not just as a rebounder, but as a pure defender, as a guy that can, pick up the guy who has the ball on the perimeter, because we're seeing this new age of the NBA where the big man can get the ball around the top of the key, put it on the ground, take it to the basket, or just make plays passing around. I mean, they call Derrick Queen Baby Jokic because that's the style of basketball that we're seeing develop here in the NBA. That's why Tony Massenberg has said it so many times that Derrick Queen is going to excel at the next level because he plays almost European style, which is what the NBA is primarily becoming right now. It's not even about athleticism anymore. And I think with that being said, Derrick Queen is a guy that can develop defensively. So that's a really long answer to your question, but I think anybody that can't play defense at this point would boil my blood. And Trey Johnson, I know there's some questions about his defensive tendencies, but I'm not hearing it with that. If Trey Johnson's there at 6, you have to get him because of the way he's going to score the basketball. He's your point guard. You're not going to worry as much about him being able to play the best defense at that point, but I think he still has all the tools to be a good defender because of his 6'6" frame.
Yeah, I think Trey Johnson, if he's there at 6, you have to run to the podium and not hear any offers, decline any offers to trade back. But I think you brought up the fact Derrick Queen. I was going to ask you this, and again, I know you're the big Terps guy. Do you think the concerns of the poor combine performance is valid, or do you think the combine in today's in any sports world, do you think it's just overrated performances?
I think it's overrated. And because, like I said last time, the NBA is becoming less and less about how athletic you are and those type of skill sets, like what his vertical jump is or how quick he is. Because, I know how quick he is with the basketball. I know how quick he can be off the dribble and what he can do in the painted area and how good his touch is around the rim. We see it in so many sports, the NFL specifically as well, where you have these absolute combine warriors, dudes that test out the wazoo and make you think to yourself, oh my God, like we need this dude because he is the fastest player we've ever seen. He can jump higher than anyone we've seen. But when it comes down to it, I'm all about the skills. And I think Derrick Queen has the skills to be a very productive NBA player, even in year number 1.
I definitely think so. And it sucks, Ben, because a lot of people think that he's like a crazy reach to get him at 6. I think a lot of people, especially Wizards fans, I've seen you have to get him at 18. 6 is too early.
Let me ask you a question here, which is interesting. Obviously, the hometown thing is a big part of why a lot of Wizards fans want him. Do you think, though, we could look at this from the other end of the spectrum? Like maybe there's people that are reluctant to Derrick Queen and they have reservations about him because he's a hometown kid. They're like, thinking to themselves, well, I feel like a lot of people are just overrating him because he went to Maryland, because he's from Baltimore. Do you think that could be in play right here?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I don't know, a lot of Wizards fans are still a little stingy about what happened with Kevin Durant in 2016, and he talked about how
that's KD though.
Yeah, I know, I get it. It is KD, but I think a lot of people think when he was saying that, he mentioned how like playing in his hometown, it's not worth it. Playing in DC just wouldn't make any sense for him. So I guess maybe that people still feel that way towards Derrick Queen, but at the end of the day, the numbers speak for itself. Big Ten Freshman of the Year, young guy, number 1 option at Maryland, showed up in the brightest stages of March Madness, hitting a game winner off the glass. You mentioned from Baltimore. There's something in the water in Baltimore when it comes to guys like him and Bub Carrington, because
they live 3 doors from one another, so they drank the same water clearly.
Yeah, man, they're dogs, and I think Derrick Queen's a dog. And if you, for me, if your concern is because he's from DC that you shouldn't take him at 6, I think that's dumb. What's the analysis in that? What's the evaluation? If you're listening to this right now and you think the Wizards should not take him at 6 just because of where he's from, I think it's dumb. Straight up. I don't know, Ben. It's frustrating because a lot of Wizards fans, they put their GM cap on and think, yeah, that's where he's from. Don't pick him. Maybe you're not as high on him. But the fact that you have him at pick 18 for the Wizards, making him fall out of the top 10, it's absurd.
I feel Derrick Queen is so polarizing. I know there's going to be people listening right now that are going to run to go comment and say all these things about why they don't think Derrick Queen is any good, and that's fine. I'm willing to hear everybody out on every single prospect. But if the location of where he's from and because you don't think hometown prospects work is the reason, I'm not going to hear you out. That doesn't make sense to me. So come up with something better. If you're going to comment why you don't want Queen, tell me why from a basketball standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I almost done with the segment. I forgot to even answer this question from my end, but
yeah,
for me,
let's hear yours.
I think, and we love talking about Derrick Queen, love him. For me, you can't go with Jeremiah Fears at 6, Ben. I'm sorry, you just can't. I feel like a guy like him at his size, the shooting concerns, it's frustrating. There's no way you take him at 6. You go best player available, and you already have a guy in Jordan Poole who shooting all numbers were better. Shooting,
I agree.
Defensively got better, limited the turnovers. When he went to that 6-man role, he got humbled, and that's what it is. A lot of people wanted him out in DC. I was still on the bandwagon. I still thought that he could be the number one point guard here in DC. It wouldn't make sense to take Jeremiah Fears. I'm sorry.
Jordan Poole got punched in the face, and everyone was wondering why maybe mentally he wasn't right for the first 6 months he was here. But he's a dog, man. He's so good.
Yeah, I think
that's why I have such a hard time with the idea of even trading him, because I think he's that good.
And I think his trade value is an all-time high. And let me tell you this: for all those people out there that hated on Jordan Poole, defenders like me and Ben should deserve apologies, because we were being said that, hey, why the heck are you defending this guy? He sucks. He's shooting threes from the logo that are unwarranted. Mind you, he still does that, but not as much. But he's become a leader. And think about it: a guy like him on a losing team, it's frustrating, especially when you're about to enter the age of 20.
He won the finals the year before.
Yeah, so it's like he has the experience, and you just have to be patient with a guy like him. I think he could be that point guard that could lead us to the promised land. But a guy like Jeremiah Fears at 6, I think is just going to alter that development. You think so? Before we move on.
Yeah, I'm not in on Jeremiah Fears, and I mean you hit the nail on the head right there with all that. I'm so geeked up with this conversation, just everything. Derrick Queen, Jordan Poole, like we're hitting all the spots that get me going as a Wizards fan right here.
Being a Wizards fan, it's tough. There are a lot of high moments, but there's also a lot of low moments. We'll get into it, but before we do, a quick word from Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. All in one convenience. Instead of just juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch Money to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Welcome back to Locked On Wizards. I'm Abdullah. You'll be here with Ben Strober on the last segment of today's episode. We did a lot of draft content, but I want to talk about the top 5 best and worst moments as Wizards fans. Ben, we've been through it all. I've been a fan since 2014. We talked about KD snaking us. There's a lot. I guess we'll start off with the worst. I mean, how do you even categorize it, Ben?
Oh, I mean, so we got the idea from this segment based on a tweet that you had put out, because it was a TikTok, right, that you saw, the top 5 worst moments. And I think the person who made the TikTok cited May 12th, 2025 is the 3 times. Like, see, I don't know if May 12th, 2025 is even going to crack my top 5, if I'm being honest, because I'm so used to this. I'm used to the Wizards not having any luck in the lottery, so I expected it. I was sitting there with my friend on the couch watching the lottery, and when the 6th pick came out, I said, it's us. It's 100% us. And before he even announced Wizards, he put up that little card with the Wizards logo, and I stormed out. I was like, I'm done, dude. I know. But it's not even in my top 5, because I watched Kelly Olynyk score 26 points in a Game 7 with us 1 game from the Eastern Conference Finals. And we talked all that smoke. We still talk smoke to this day. We have John Wall and Bradley Beal going on podcasts still to this day saying how we would have beat LeBron and the Cavs in the next round. But, you can't say that because we didn't even get there. I'm
not even joking, Ben. After Kelly Olynyk did that, I think he left. His career was never the same, too.
I don't even know what happened to him. I couldn't even tell you. That was the best game he ever played in his whole life. And, of course, it's all in the 4th quarter. He just cooks us. John Wall was playing so well in that series, that whole postseason, and then he literally ran out of gas in the 4th quarter, man. It was so heartbreaking.
It was frustrating.
That was the end for us. We never even got close to being back there. Never even got close.
Yeah, it was I think that was definitely one of them. Kelly Olynyk, man, that's just a name that haunts Wizards fans, obviously, because the whole fight that happened with him and Kelly Oubre, a young Kelly Oubre at the time, pushing him, which was entertaining, but the fact that you lose, it hurt. I don't think we would have beaten the Cavs. I think that's crazy. I know John Wall, he's still
it makes me so mad when people I mean, yeah, I think we matched up pretty well with that team, but LeBron was going for his 7th straight NBA Finals at that point, and I don't think anybody was beating him. That's prime LeBron. That's LeBron's like 3rd prime actually, right there. There was not a chance the Wizards were winning that series as much as I do think they matched up well, and we saw that from those regular season matchups, including the LeBron banked in buzzer beater to send the game to overtime and eventually win after he traveled and missed the layup with nobody even around him. I mean, those games were insane, but I ultimately do think the Cavs would have beat the Wizards in probably 6 games in that series.
Yeah. I think another, I don't know if you remember, a couple of years ago when the Wizards were at one point first in the Eastern Conference, somehow, some way, I think this was our freshman year of college.
Oh, and
At the
10
end
and
of that
3, 10 and
season,
3.
yeah, at the end of the season, I mean, Montrezl Harrell had MVP votes. That's insane. There were odds of that. I think the one game against the Clippers, they blew a 35-point lead when they didn't
Yeah.
have Paul George, no Kawhi Leonard. I think Luke Kennard hit the game-winning and
I
one
think he
from
didn't
three,
Luke Kennard have like 40 points.
something like that. That was just like, I mean, I knew the Wizards just again, like the whole being stuck in purgatory. It was a common theme back then, but man, that game was just so frustrating to watch. 35 points.
You know, honestly, the Spencer Dinwiddie and Kyle Kuzma breakup has to crack this list because during that season where they started 10 and 3, those two were clicking on all cylinders. We had Dinwiddie in the building, and we thought he was tough. We thought he was like that. Kuzma comes to DC. We thought the fresh start for him was going to be everything he needed to be a superstar player. And then those two just break up, and it becomes a public disaster. It became really entertaining on Twitter. I mean, we can't even say the tweets that got put out by those two because they were so profane by the end of the beef. But that really sticks out for me as well. Another thing that sticks out is a really brutal moment for me as a Wizards fan, and I think for a lot of you listening right here, is back in 2015, the second year that the Wizards cracked the postseason in the John Wall, Bradley Beal era. Wall breaks his wrist in Game 1 against Atlanta, a game that they do eventually win, but then they eventually go down in that series 3-2, and with the absence of Wall for I think 3 or 4 games in that series, it was just detrimental. They were unable to overcome that. I know Ramon Sessions provided some pretty good minutes as the starting point guard in that series, but I mean, you lose your superstar transcending player in John Wall in the second round against an Atlanta team who was the 1 seed that year, but I thought the Wizards really had a good chance to win that series. They nearly stole Game 5 on the road after Paul Pierce hit the 3 from the corner to take the lead before Al Horford's putback game winner.
Oh,
And then
my. Al
Pierce hit it.
Horford was a Wizards killer, man.
Yeah, and then Pierce hitting the shot in the corner in Game 6 that he didn't get off by literally a tenth of a second that would have sent the game to overtime. I mean, that was heartbreaking right there. That crushed me. That crushed 6th grade me.
Yeah, definitely crushed me too, man. That was my beginning years of being a Wizards fan. Little did I know it would cause a lot of years of frustration. But I think also we talked a lot about worst moments. You got to get to some best moments. We're not that bad, Ben, right? But I think I'm sorry again. Maybe to you that trade when Bradley Beal got that extension, the Supermax extension, no trade clause. I mean, maybe at the time we didn't think it was that bad, but looking back on it, that was bad.
Oh, I thought it was bad.
Sorry, one more, Ben. Also, when Kyle Kuzma said, "Don't be that team," when he was referencing the Detroit Pistons that were like they were on a crazy losing streak, and the Wizards end up losing to them.
All right, I'm gonna go rapid fire. We have 2 minutes left in this show. Best moments: John Wall game winner in Game 6. What else what else are we gonna go to?
Sweeping the Raptors in that first round and
sweeping the Raptors. Paul Pierce, the truth moment in Game 3. I think winning the opening playoff series first time with John Wall, Bradley Beal against the Bulls, where they win in 5 games. The free Nene game. I brought up a tweet about how Nene actually cooked. Nene was a demon in that series against Chicago, against the Defensive Player of the Year, Joakim Noah. That was absurd. I mean, that's top tier. I mean, that was 10 years ago now, so how much can I really talk about it? How much can I really reminisce on it? But it's a little bit fun.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think of like recent. Oh, also that during the COVID season, Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook against the Nets, that 6 points in like 3 seconds.
Wait, Westbrook's run in the latter part of the season in 2021 was hilarious because he was so good. He was so good, but the Wizards were still just a play-in team, so it was so hard to like
breaking the triple-double record as a Wizard. That was cool.
That was cool. That was really cool.
Yeah, as I know we emphasize a lot of the worst moments. There are some best moments, but I'm hoping in a couple of years we can emphasize more on the best moments, and I think so. So let us know your thoughts. Should the Wizards consider Liam McNeeley at pick 18? Is there any draft pick out there that you guys will get a little upset over or a lot upset over? Boy or blood? A lot of you think that Derrick Queen shouldn't be picked at 6. Please explain why not. Ben and I will look over it and give us your top 5 best and worst moments as a Wizards fan. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the Locked On Wizards channel. We're on the road to 6,000 subscribers. Thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NBA Big Board Show. NBA draft expert Rafael Barlow reacts to every workout, interview, and rumor leading up to the NBA draft. Find Locked On NBA Big Board on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Abdullah Ayubi. This is Ben Strober signing out. Hail to the Wizards.